Hi everyone, it's JG here with Earth 5D University, back for another teaching. Welcome to the channel, guys. I'm so excited you're here. I get super pumped, super stoked to bring you these teachings. So welcome, new people, all my current folks that come and visit me every Sunday. Welcome, lots of love to you guys. So today, I'm really excited to talk about a couple things that have been brewing during the week. The first thing I wanted to talk about, guys, when we're talking about creating 5D consciousness, we're talking about elevating our lives. And when we're talking about bringing those higher frequencies right here down to earth, right in the physical, we're talking about bringing flow into our lives. So I'm not a big fan of talking about myself. I'd much rather listen. But if it helps you guys to share some of my life stories and some of the crazy things I've been through in my life, I'm happy to do so if it is a benefit to you. So when we talk about flow, right, we're talking about letting life happen. So oftentimes we're driving around life with the brakes on, right? We're like, should I really do this? Should I really go for that? Does that really make sense for me? And discernment is a huge part of your spiritual journey. But we don't want to overly impress certain rules and restrictions on ourselves that tend to go against the flow of creation, because creation itself is constantly expanding. It's something that we can always rely on. Everyone says you can rely on two things, death and taxes. Well, you can also rely on that the universe is always expanding in consciousness, and that's the 5D perspective. Not everything has to be, super dark. So in my own life, since I was very little, I'm going to share a story with you. I've just always been in that expansive mode. And as a light worker, I believe that was just the way I was born. That's the way I was wired. You couldn't quite fit me into a certain category. And I believe in your own lives, guys, back in the day, used to be like a banker or a seamstress or actor or a musician, used to be, or a nurse or a teacher. You only used to be one thing. But in our life's journey into the fifth dimensional consciousness, you're going to be many things, okay? And it's totally different than the past. The energy's brighter, it's poppier, it's more fluid, and it's about you guys getting into the flow of that. So for you, you're going to be starting to get pressed upon to grow and to change. Life situations are going to happen that are going to encourage you to change, like put some pressure on you to change. That's because Spirit is helping you. When these things come up into your reality that you're like, what the hell is that? Why is this happening to me? What's going on here? What's this all about that I'm being caused to change or forced to change, feeling forced to change, life pressing upon you to change. It's in those discomfort. It's in that discomfort that you're being invited into the fifth dimension. And so you might say, well, why is it so like that? Why is it so pressure? Why is it so itchy, that itchy feeling? And the reason why it's like that is because we're really resistant to change, right? So change is super scary for human beings right now. So we're talking about getting into the flow of things, getting into the fluidity of the fifth dimension. And that it comes without restriction, and it comes without certain boxes that we put our life in. So I sort of was unboxed born, I was born unboxed. I didn't really come within a box. I didn't really fit into my family structure. There's a lot of diversity in my family, luckily, in terms of belief systems. So I was accepted that way. So it's not like I was able to totally be present to my spiritual gifts, but I could be myself without a lot of restrictions. So that looks like so many different things, if you would have asked me when I was 15 or 14 or 12 or 13, what's your religion are you? I used to be called Jenny, so I'd say I'm Jennyism. I practice Jennyism. So I was making up my own belief systems at a very small age, very young age. And, this kind of flowed through my life path. I have an older brother, and I was the type of girl that would run out and play football or climb a tree. But that wasn't only who I am. I also took ballet, and I also swam on the swim team. And I never really wanted to fit into a category. And I'm only telling you this not to talk about myself so much, is that that's kind of where you're heading. You're not just going to be one thing anymore. So you're getting called into this expansive place. So I want to give you an example of something that happened to me that was kind of a radical thing that happened in my life that it's taken me till I'm this age to talk about, because it's, it was hard for me to wrap my head around the experience. But basically, when I was 17 or 8, I think I was 18 at this time. When I was 18, I got visited, basically. And it wasn't like an alien visitation or an extraterrestrial visitation. It was more like a visitation from a consciousness. So it's hard to just explain. It wasn't a figure or something. But this consciousness came to me, and like it just visited me on a normal day. I don't remember the day of the week, but I think it was like the springtime, because I was sitting on my front porch in Chicago, so it wasn't that cold. And in a Chicago suburb, and it wasn't that cold. And this consciousness came upon me. And this came upon me after a time of like really experimenting with the things that teenagers experiment with, like smoking a lot of weed, dropping acid. Like so what I'm saying here is I've tried a lot of things, I've walked a lot of different paths. I'm not saying that you should go out and do a bunch of drugs, but it's never too late, right? To get to that Christ consciousness, to get to those higher frequencies. And so when this happened to me, I know that there were people praying for me. In my case, this Christ consciousness that came to me was the spirit of absolute love. And when I say that it came to me, it changed my life. Like I couldn't say a swear word for like 4 years. Like I couldn't, because it hurt. It felt so wrong, And now you guys know that, of course, I swear, But at the time, it was like such a touched place of grace and a touched place of love. The best I could call it was this Christ consciousness. And so instead of like a figure coming upon me, like I saw something and it physically touched me, this was like this overwhelming wash of just knowing. It was just complete knowing. And it was a knowing that we are absolutely so sacred, even as human beings. Like we are so sacred, and our journey is so sacred. And in that sacredness, there's also a tremendous amount of humanity. So those two things can go hand in hand. And I was shown that in an instant. So fast forward a little bit. I don't want this video to get too long, but basically I get hooked. I go through the RCIA program, which is the Rites of Catholic Initiation. I can't remember the exact acronym, but you can't just become Catholic, right? But I just had a feeling that I wanted to become Catholic. So at 18, I shifted out of a huge lifestyle change, right, into this sort of Catholic life, this sort of pious kind of place where normally I would have been like out partying and stuff. Now it was just very like into myself. Now I didn't ask for this experience. I didn't try for this. It just happened to me. So there was no effort involved. So this came so naturally. And that's kind of what the whole point of the story is, that we don't have to force things. It was just that time in my life when I was open and ready, and Spirit just came upon me. And Spirit can do that to you. You don't need to force a bunch of stuff upon yourself. And when this stuff comes to you, these spiritual gifts and these awakenings, it's natural. So what I learned when I went through the RCIA program and becoming Catholic is I joined a bunch of like evangelical kind of charismatic Catholics, and these people gathered in a group, and they're very loving, and they're singing, and they're like speaking in tongues, which I would call light language now, now that it's like 20 years later or more. I would call it light language. At the end of the day, though, what I learned is in this group, it was very, very like homogenous. It was very, very like everyone was very closed, and everyone was very much the same, and no one like went out into the world and was integrating this. This was all done in like their little 4 walls, and it was a good idea. But what I learned from that is it felt over time, it felt very, very, very constraining. And then that's when Spirit was like, you gotta like go out in the world. Like Spirit is not found in these little tight groups. Spirit is out there somewhere, right? In real life, at the bar, right? At the beach, on the sports field. Like we're not here to just limit ourselves to like, I am Catholic, I'm sitting in this group, I am sitting in this group. I am a yogi. I'm only going to do yoga. Whatever it is that you have, you're going to integrate that. That is what the fifth dimension is. You're going to integrate all the stuff that you're learning out there in life. You're not just going to sit here in your room or on your yoga mat or on your couch. This is about going out into the world. Okay, so you don't want to drive around the world, the life with your brakes on. You want to like take your foot off the brake, put your foot on the pedal, and you want to go out into the universe. Like when I went out into the universe after that awakening, I mean, I was just like everyone else, right? But I had this love. I had this understanding of the sacredness of ourselves in life, and I just wanted to do no harm, right? That's the basis of basically Christ consciousness and higher frequency on the planet that we're getting invited to. It's like you just don't want to do any harm. And so your intentionality is always, how can I expand? How can I make this better? How can I make this lighter? How can I make it easy for myself and others, right? How can I share, right? How can I be dynamic? Because you're not just one thing. That is a very, very huge misconception. So you want to be many things. So I went on and I was like, I did so many things. I studied sociology and social work, and then I went out and I worked for the district attorney's office, and I was a child advocate there for kids who were sexually abused. And then I went off into the transportation business, and I worked for a shipping company doing logistics. And then you guys know that I ended up in advertising, and because I wanted to be a writer, so I just kept reinventing myself. And all those skill sets that I learned, you'll take those with you and you will use them to become the unique flavor of you that is fifth dimensional. You know what I'm saying? So I did all these things, and the whole time having all these spiritual gifts, the whole time being highly psychic, the whole time, you know, knowing that there was value in integrating everything that got, the gifts that I got, the understanding that I got, integrating that into the world around me was going to help people. And it was hard, you know. I would rather have sat somewhere. I mean, I toyed with the idea maybe I should be like a theologian and a nun, not a nun, but maybe like more of a contemplative. And you know, just it's easier, right, to just sit by yourself and not have to deal with the world. But it was like, nope. The marching orders were like, you're going to take what I just taught you, and you're not going to sit in a prayer circle. Those are good. There's value in that. They're beautiful to uplift one another in a community, but we also have to take that out into creation, into society, into others' lives, and we have to be that light. We have to be that joy. And you know, how do you learn the skill sets that you need to impact the world the greatest? It's not sitting in your room. You have to go out into life, connected to spirit, right? And so, let me give you an example, two short examples, and then I'll end it. I know it's already getting kind of long. So, and I'll timestamp this so you can skip these. But one thing on the like forcing things into spirituality and stuff is that for many years, so sexuality is a big topic that I know I'm called to talk about. And for a number of years, I was totally celibate. And especially when I had that conversion experience, I actually had a boyfriend that I really loved at the time. And I was like, sorry, you know, we're not going to have sex anymore. And he was fine with that. But it wasn't because I didn't love him. And it wasn't because I really didn't want to have sex. It was because I was just, I was taking my energy and I wanted to put it elsewhere into creating something. And so I ended up doing that without knowing, you know, and so I didn't have this understanding like, oh, I'm going to harness my chi and I'm going to go move myself to North Carolina, go to college there and meet all these amazing people and become who I was going to become. Like I had no understanding of that. It was totally not forced. It was just like a break, quote unquote. I thought just a break and just like hitting that reset button. So these are natural expressions of becoming fifth dimensional. It's not forcing. It's just being you. It's doing you in the world. Just doing you. All right? And so that's one thing I wanted to share from my life. And that's happened a few times where I needed to build something. I get very like, and I'm very non-traditional, right? And that's good. I would encourage you to also just express yourself. Go with this is the flow of creation. Which leads me to the second thing I wanted to talk about. So being in the flow of creation. So typically we have 4 walls that we are like pretty comfortable with, right? We have like a comfort level of a place where we have thoughts and beliefs and patterns and sort of a way that we feel like the world operates, right? The world operates this way. This is what I expect. This is what I'm comfortable in. And you can kind of imagine it as 4 walls. This is what I've touched, seen, felt, experienced. This is what I came in my DNA. This is what I believe about life. And this is where I'm comfortable playing. This is where everything happens for me, right? In these 4 walls. But where spirit is leading you into the 5th dimension is straight over those 4 walls and out into the infinite cosmos of possibility. So when we're doing manifestation, we can manifest in those 4 walls, right? But you're going to get the same flavor of energy, right? We can't change something in our lives with the same energy that we brought to it. Something's got to change. Something. And that's where it gets kind of freaky for everyone. We get scared. But there's this place of trust, and it's not in the 4 walls. You have to get over the 4 walls, and out there is creation itself. It's the cosmos. It's the orgasmic gift of life itself. It's I can't even explain it because when I was young, I got all these downloads, and now I'm trying to like unpack them and make them understandable. So there's something outside of the 4 walls that's absolutely infinite, and it's the cosmos, and we can touch it and we can use it to create things, material things. So it's the fabric of creation, right? But it's typically not in your 4 walls unless you've been taking it in there. But still, it's still in your 4 walls. So let me give you the last metaphor before I wrap it up. So you can think of those 4 walls, like let's say there's 2 koala bears in a zoo, and they have like a nice habitat. I love koala bears, they're so freaking cute. Or let's use koalas. And I was gonna say sloths, but let's use koalas. So there's 2 koala bears in the zoo, or 3, or a family of them, and they're hanging out in their habitat. They might think they're in Habitat Australia, in Cincinnati Zoo or something, right? And they think they're somewhere that's very comfortable, right? They're like, this is so comfortable. You know, I get fed every day at this time. I'm safe. I don't have to worry about any predators. I don't have to even worry about the elements. I don't have to worry about rain. I don't have to worry about whatever could happen to me. So safe here. And then one day some koala bear's like, hey, I'd like to see what's outside of those 4 walls. I've heard, or I have an intuition, I have a premise that there's something out there for me. There's something out there. And the other ones are like, are you crazy? Like, we've got it made in here. We get fed. We get all of our needs met. We know what to expect. We know exactly when to expect it, right? And that's like, guys, that's what we want. So that's like us sometimes. We're in our 4 walls and we're like, yeah, I'm totally cool here. I'm so comfortable here. Like, don't make me go out there in the world. But out there in the world is all of creation. It's freedom. And you can trust that your needs will be met. And you can trust that you can create outside of there, because that's the 5th dimension. It's your pathway there. So it's outside of your 4 walls, guys, and it's in the not knowing and the humility of understanding that there's no way that you could understand the cosmos from our perspective on Earth. It's just too dense. And it's not that we're like worthless or that, right, we're completely sacred beings, but it's within our humanity that we're sacred, which is way different than what we got taught, you know? We're always trying to get out of ourselves, like denying ourselves. And I haven't found that's, for me, that's caused the greatest amount of freedom and the greatest amount of consciousness, the greatest amount of joy, expansion. And the way you can tell that you're in that zone is that you look at the fruits of your life. How are you feeling? Like, What's going on around you? Are you fulfilled, right? Take a step out of those four walls. Jump out, get the vision for it so that you can experience the cosmos of creation and begin creating with the fabric of life itself that is absolutely infinite, cosmic, exceptional, and everything you want. That's good. Okay? So I'm so glad you're here, guys. Thank you for letting me share this with you. Thank you for being a part of this teaching. So much love and light. Go out there in the world, be you, go with the flow. If you need anything, I have links down below. Join me, follow me. Let's do this. Lots of love. Bye for now, guys.